Hey, it's Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and it's time for another Kickstarter weekly roundup. This is another lightish week, all things considered. Timestamps down below in case you want to skip to any particular section, if only the things we're excited about, coming next week. Maybe ISS Vanguard, I don't actually know, I genuinely don't know, but we'll talk about it at the end. Timestamps down below. That aside, next week, Monday, I may end up skipping this roundup again. If we only have, nothing else new, I may end up going for, again, some other video in place and then resume the roundup in the week following. Basically, there's no point doing this whole video if there's not much to cover, which is just December's light. December is very, very light. All that said, let's start with the updates and go from there. So to begin with, the first update is going to be DEI, Divide Et Impera. I did a full video. I will link down to it down below. I did a full video recently as to whether you should or shouldn't back it, all that. Long story short is, I said in the video, I wasn't really sure what I was doing yet. I was leaning towards not backing, but I wasn't sure. Basically, the game looks very much up my alley. It's area control, asymmetric powers, lots of cards, lots of abilities. It's combat to a degree, but without such a huge focus on actually combat and hitting each other. More area control with the occasional opinion of another character. Lots of stuff going on in this game, and I was basically on the fence enough that I reached out to Ludus Magnus to say, hey, I'm looking for a, let's play a game. Let's play a game on Tabletop Simulator, see how it actually plays out, because I keep on going back and forth, and the rational part of me is saying, don't back this game. There's no need. It'll probably be bad, or it'll probably be not that great. Short version is I'm backing it. I am going all in on this game. You don't need to go all in. Let me save you some time there. You definitely 100% do not need to go all in, but if you like all the asymmetric stuff and you want more things, there are a lot of stuff that you can potentially get. If you're on the fence, well, if you're on the fence, just walk away. You don't need another game. If you're on the fence but want it, back the game at, a base pledge or whatnot. And if you're like me and if you have no self-control once you like something, and I do like this game. So what I told Successful Geek, who is the person who I actually played this game with, one of the people I played with, what I told him after the game is, I definitely want to play this one again. I've only have one play. This is not a review. This is a first impressions or whatever you want to call it. But I only had one play of the game. And as of right now, I can see this going either way. I can see it 5 plays down the road being a game that I decide isn't doing enough that I love that I'll get rid of it, because it's a contested field. Area control in my collection is a heavily contested field, like area control should be, I guess. Or alternatively, I can see it being 5 plays later and loving this and wanting it to rise. I'm liking this game a lot is what it comes down to, and I need further plays to decide exactly where that a lot ends up. In case you want to back it, you can still back it on Back It over here. You don't have a lot of time left. You have 1 day left, if that. So if you're on the fence, do not waste time. Pause this video. You can come back after. We'll still be here. Head on over to divideetimperabackit.com. That's the big blue button. I'll have links down below, of course, and jump in on the game. And if you aren't interested, well, that's what timestamps are for. From there, we go to the weekly recap. The weekly recap is a video that I started, the week in review is what I called it. The week in review is a video that I did last week or whatnot, and the feedback on that one was very interesting. Basically, the premise of the video was me covering what I've done in the past week, brief overview of each video, and that way you can click and see what you want to watch. The reason it was interesting to begin with is, thankfully and gratefully, I have a lot of people here who watch all my videos, and so I knew when I did that maybe this is a useless video. A recap of all the stuff you already watched is, well, a waste of everyone's time. But I simultaneously saw a decent amount of people who said, hey, this is okay, but you know what? I watch all your stuff anyway, so doesn't really need anything extra there. As well as I also saw a bunch of people who were like, no, I really like this. I don't have time to watch every single video because it's life, and this helped me see what kind of videos I might be more interested in jumping in on. So overall, really divided. The question is, what do you do when you have people who want the video and don't want the video? So my current answer for right now is I will be bumping the week in review to Saturdays. Saturday is the day anyway that I have a whole bunch of videos going up, and this way it'll be the first video of every Saturday, and in that video I'll probably put it up at 8 a.m. so earlier than the usual 10 a.m. EST start time for my videos. I'll probably start it off at 8 a.m. and in that video I'll cover the week in review, but I'll also say, and here are the reviews coming today, so you can keep an eye out for any that you particularly liked, and that way we'll see how it does. I'll experiment with a few weeks. Feedback, as always, is still welcome, but this way it's not like taking up the video of the day for people who are watching all the stuff. This way it is there if you want it, and it's not there if you don't, by cramming it in on Saturday along with every single other video that I already do. And so that would be the week in review. From there we move to Kickstarters that are canceled, which is really just one. Treasure Temple, unfortunately canceled. This one was one that I was in the middle of looking into last week, and it looks like I don't have to finish looking into it. It looked like a light, fun little game that involved being in a temple and running around doing stuff in terms of the treasure. They have the treasure cars moving along a pathway. It looked like a lightweight game, but looked intriguing, and I was in the middle of doing more research into it when it canceled, and so I guess that's not needed for right now. They do plan on coming back. They said they have a lot of people who have played the game, who've liked the game. They want to see it hit the light of day. I think it just wasn't really heavily advertised. I only really saw this one when it hit Kickstarter. I didn't really see it before that at all on any of the lists that I usually follow, and so, well, it was there, but either way. Moving on from there to the first of 3 or 2, I believe, 2 that are not currently funding. The first is going to be Clash of Armies, a medieval deck building game. This one is one that already canceled and relaunched. Currently has 254 backers, 6,000, almost 7,000 raised out of 12,000. Decent chance it'll actually, 3 days to go. That's not actually looking that great. I'm sorry. Whoops. In any case, this is one that I would normally have been more dismissive of, but I actually just played a game, For Glory. I did a review last week, or this past week, whatever it is. For Glory is another 2-player deck building game that, this is a crowded genre. In general, deck building games, people are shoving deck building into absolutely everything they can, and it's hard to stand out, and it is hard to stand out, and Clash of Armies, I don't know if they're doing enough to stand out on the Kickstarter page. Then again, like I said, For Glory, I don't know if I would have backed For Glory. In fact, I would argue I probably would not have backed For Glory. I never actually saw it, so I couldn't know. But having played For Glory, I actually really like it, and it's now in my collection for the foreseeable future. So we'll see how that plays out there. From there we have Twinkle, just plain Twinkle. Twinkle has 14 days to go, 9,900 raised, just shy of 10, well, never mind, crossed 10,000 as we're watching, or as my browser caught up. 168 backers, and this looks like a lightweight pattern style game. Think Reef, think Azul to a degree, more Reef, more Coatl. It has that element of having different cards. You have to kind of build these patterns out on your star maps. Looks like an interesting system in terms of the way you roll dice, and you have to slowly but surely build out your star map, but going lower and lower on the dice as you progress. So each die has to be lower than the prior one, and then you have to build out your patterns and actually do what you need to do. Looks like a fun, simple game. It does not look like the heaviest thing ever, which I don't think it would be, but it does look like a fun, simple game with an interesting theme. And from there, we go to the first update. The first update is going to be Mission Catastrophe. This is not that much of an update. More so, it's really a clarification because I got into a conversation on the Mission Catastrophe Discord thread about the game, which basically, the very short version of it is, first of all, I did a review of the game already this Saturday, went up. The short version is I was conflicted to a degree because this game is, I don't know how often it will hit the collection. It's a little interesting in terms of the space it fits. It's a little heavier than the stuff I typically play with my family, and a little lighter than the stuff I typically play with my game night. But that being said, I have enjoyed it every single time I played it, and so in the end, I am backing this game. Part of that decision is the fact that this particular version of the game is Kickstarter exclusive. And when I say this particular version, what I mean by that is the version you're seeing here with the upgraded pieces, the extras, the Kickstarter exclusives, the stretch goals, the miniatures, all that stuff, that is 100% Kickstarter exclusive. The part that is a little less clear, let's go to the wording here. The part that's a little less clear is whether the game in general is Kickstarter exclusive. And that's wording over here is going to be Mission Catastrophe needs your help. Without you, this game cannot exist. We've packed the game with deluxe bits which are suited to survive the vacuum space or make it to retail. This version is just for you. Thank you for your support. In other words, the wording used is that this version of Mission Catastrophe is Kickstarter exclusive, and that leads you to assume or guess what's going on with the other version. What about, is there going to be a retail version without miniatures, with standees? Who knows what all of that, who knows? And this is a constant conversation, and it's one worth having because it's one that I frequently have to make my own guesses at when it comes to, well, games on Kickstarter. In this particular version, I happen to be communicating with the project creator, so I know a little bit more what's going on. And that is basically when you have a game on Kickstarter and you say, hey, no retail plans or whatnot. The problem is the short problem comes down to this. If you overly sell the idea that you have no retail plans, and then later you get retail plans, everyone, myself included to a degree, will look at it and be like, that company, when they say they have no retail plans, of course they're going to go to retail. They just don't officially have plans yet, but they'll go to retail. So you can't oversell the fact that there's no guarantee on retail. The flip side is if you undersell it, then you may end up with a game that's not going to retail and no one really knew. They just all assumed it was going to retail. So you're kind of stuck in this weird middle ground as a creator where you kind of actually just don't know what's going on, but if you oversell that unknown in either direction, you run the risk of some kind of slapback in one way or the other. It's hard. It's a hard place to be in. Using Mission Catastrophe as an example over here, there are no firm retail plans whatsoever. They have current talks about the potential of a retail option, completely stripped down, no expansion, no extras, no whatever, and that's all potential and completely up in the air, not certain, and even if it happens, it'll be without any of the stuff. So if you are interested in Mission Catastrophe at all, this is the way to get the deluxeified, be all, have all, everything version of the game. Check out the comments on my video. There are a few other people who have played the game, who have enjoyed the game, so this does seem like a solid game. Like, for me, there's no question. I enjoyed the game. My question is really just, this is the kind of game for me that may or may not hit game night all the time based on, it may not hit the table all the time based on, well, the game group around it. From there, we move to the first of many actual new games this week. And that's going to be Nemo's War, Journey's End Expansion and Ultimate Edition. Basically, this is an expansion, Journey's End, to Nemo's War, as well as the Ultimate Edition, which is basically consolidating all the small stuff, all the Nemo's War 2nd Edition, the Nautilus upgrades, the Bold and the Caring, the Dramas and Personae, the Dramatis Personae, and then also the Journey's End Expansion, all consolidated into one Ultimate Edition of Nemo's War. Short version is Nemo's War is primarily a solo game. The expansion, the Journey's End Expansion, adds a bunch of new stuff, including possibly a 2-player mode. I say possibly because, technically speaking, Nemo's War always had a 1 to 4 player mode, just really it was a solo game. This one is different in the sense that the 2-player mode that they're offering now seems to have the person taking the opposing side, turning it from not a solo and co-op game, but rather a solo or competitive game. How well it's implemented, no idea whatsoever. Past that, it adds new roles, new goals, new cards, new ships, basically a whole bunch of new stuff for the game, for the base stuff of Nemo's War. Nemo's War is a game that I personally did not enjoy, but it's also an 8.2 on Board Game Geek, so I would say you should go with the general masses. This is a game that if you like solo games, I recommend backing this one. If you like competitive games and you're backing this for the 2-player competitive mode, I recommend being do your due diligence, because this is primarily known as a solo game, so when they add a competitive mode, it might be amazing. But I imagine there are better 2-player games out there. That being said, it might actually be great. Who knows? As far as whether you should or shouldn't back it, is it a good back or not? The short version is that Nemo's War is generally sold by Victory Point Games, and it's generally sold primarily on the website or on the Amazon store. It does not typically see retail distribution, which means that what you're paying over here, this $89 for absolutely everything, is actually a pretty darn good price when you compare it to secondhand market, when you compare it to current availability, when you compare it to the fact that it does not show up at your online discounted store or whatnot. This is actually a solid price for the Ultimate Edition. For the base edition as well, the Journey's End pledge as well, it's still pretty solid because the shipping comes in at $6 for the Journey's End pledge to the US and $13 for the Ultimate Edition, which makes this all around a solid back. If you're interested in Nemo's War, I do recommend checking this out. And again, it's despite the fact that I did not like the game, it is an 8.2 on Board Game Geek. That cannot be well undersold. From there we go to the Specialist board game. This is going to be by Explore 8. They did, I believe they did Big Monster. It was a light little drafting game that I had someone recommend to me at one point. I never actually ended up checking it out extensively. But in any case, the Specialist, which is funded in 2 hours, 759 backers, $60,000 raised. This is one that has a high entry price point, unfortunately. The short version is this is a dice drafting game where you have specialists, you're trying to rob a bank, you're trying to recruit the specialists, and, well, draft dice to use their abilities, use everything cohesive, and try to figure out the best way to ultimately win the game. The gameplay actually looks very interesting. Solid game. I like dice drafting in general. I like powers and abilities in general, which this has a ton of. What I don't like as much is the price tag on this one. I'm not certain whether I have no certainty that this is going to be a good game for me personally, and I have no certainty as to whether the market will evaluate it being a good game and will hold its price, because the problem is coming in at a €75 entry price, and that's going to be over here. We have 2 pledges over here. We have the standard Kickstarter price over here, which is going to be the standard box or whatnot. There's no guarantee on Kickstarter exclusivity on this goal, which is why there's only 52 backers, and that's going to be for the basic whatnot. And then there's the €60, $73, €60 for the Specialist Deluxe Kickstarter price. This one's guaranteed to be Kickstarter exclusive or whatnot. The problem is shipping to the US is going to come in another €15, putting you at basically a €75 or just shy of $100 to get this game. That is a lot of game price for $100. It does come chock full of Kickstarter exclusive stuff, which means it can hold its value if it's, well, a good game. If people like it a lot, if people are like, oh my gosh, you need to hunt down that Kickstarter exclusive version of the Specialist, well, that's great. But if they don't, if this game is only okay, then that is too high a price tag for it to hold its value. Sometimes whenever you're looking for value, there's always a few different conversations. I plan on doing a full video at some point about what my process is, because there's a lot of daisy chaining down different pathways depending how something goes. This one checks the box of exclusivity. That's a good thing. So therefore, you can't compare it to any future retail price. It is unfortunately expensive, and it doesn't back it up in terms of the components alone. They do have a bunch of poker chips, which does help, but overall, comparing the amount of components here for what is a $100 price tag is not your typical. It's not typical to compare to other things in the genre, which means the only thing that will make this game hold its price, in my opinion, is if it's an amazing game, because then people pay for the exclusivity because they want to get that deluxe version of that game that everyone's talking about. So ultimately, this one comes down to the category I usually put this in is, I'm not saying it's a bad back, I'm not saying it's a good back, it is a risky back. Unless and until this game comes out as being vetted as incredible, as amazing, as one that people are trying to hunt down, then paying $100 for it, I am skeptical that you will see your money back if it's not a game for you. That being said, it may well be your best opportunity to get this game because it does have all that exclusive stuff, at least at this pledge level, unless of course you are willing to get the retail options. From there we go to Fly Away, a squawking fun game of migratory birds, which is such a weird thing. I mean, why do people use birds as a theme in games? It doesn't, like, nobody's going to buy a game about birds, and this is the part where I obligatory have to explain that of course I know about Wingspan, and of course I'm joking, because otherwise I will get 4 people in the comments down below who don't realize that I'm being sarcastic, and I inevitably have to reply to everyone, which means sadly I am in this bad place in my life where whenever I make a joke in public, on camera, I then have to explain it because it's less work than the alternative. In any case, a game about birds. That sounds like an excellent idea. So, Fly Away. This is a game about migratory practices with birds. It has a lot of route building. It actually looks very interesting. I mean, in terms of if you actually look at the game and follow the gameplay itself, Meeple University had a great 3-minute video covering exactly how to play the game. Well, not exactly. Covering an overview of how to play the game. Typical job, short and sweet, giving you all you need to know. This is a game about which you're building routes for the birds, and then you're dealing with hazards or foul play cards or whatnot that will negatively affect things or negatively affect everyone at the table. So it's a lot of card management, a lot of route building, a lot of trying to figure out the optimal way to build out your paths. I think she said, what did she say? She said at Meeple University, she said it's a combination of Ticket to Ride and something else. Both were games I liked, which is unfortunate because this does seem like the kind of game that I would be interested in. The problem is, like the Specialist, the problem is going to be price. The price point over here, although different type of problem. More specifically, the problem over here is that the pledge level over here is a $45 pledge level to get the game, and that's 10% off the MSRP. 10% off the MSRP is less than what you will get when you're buying it online later with free shipping. And over here, you have to pay shipping. So over here, it's 10% off the MSRP, plus you have to pay shipping. And what do you get for that? You get 6 Kickstarter exclusive bird cards, which is a hard sell. This is going to be more akin to Star Scrapper's Orbital that was just on Kickstarter, where they're charging you more than you'd have to pay in retail, and you get a small, tiny promo pack for that. Those are always a tough one to do because generally the promo packs also show up. Well, this one says Kickstarter exclusive, so I guess that maybe it'll be Kickstarter exclusive, we'll see. But in general, that price point, what you're paying extra for an unvalidated, unreviewed product compared to getting it later, it does make it a hard sell. The art in this game looks great. The concept of the game looks great. It looks appealing. I mean, games about birds do super popular, a la Wingspan or whatnot. So all in all, this is one that if you are interested in, check it out. Price point wise, I think you're better off waiting to retail. Unfortunately, it is already funded, because that's going to be the other factor you have to always pay attention to, which is the fact that at 518 backers, that is a small enough current portion of people that there is no guarantee on retail. So if you want that guarantee aspect, well, back it on Kickstarter. If you are not, super... If you're willing to take the risk and you're willing to not get this game, then I would recommend waiting to retail, where it'll probably show up cheaper if it shows up at all. From there we move to Saloon Showdown. You are the gunslinger. This is going to be a light, if you ever play Cash and Guns, it's going to be in that genre. Different game, different gameplay mechanics, but it's going to be very much be in the genre of Cash and Guns. It's a light little point guns that people kind of split the money, figure out your options in terms of just, trying to shoot each other or in order to win the game. It's very much that hybrid of a party game and a strategy game all wrapped in together. The price of this is going to be, well, it's a trend. We're following the same trend today. This is also going to fall into the category of more so the Specialist than Fly Away, but it's going to fall into the category of the Specialist in the sense that there's 2 pledge levels here. There's going to be the standard pledge for $31, where you get a copy of the base game. This will very possibly be going to retail. If it's, again, you have to look at the number of backers. 213 backers means there's no guarantee here. So if you are on the fence, jump in on that base game because there's no guarantee. The flip side is the next pledge level is going to be €50 for the deluxe pledge, which includes the Saloon Showdown Back in Town expansion, which is Kickstarter exclusive. So for $61, you can get a more all-in version of the game that does guarantee exclusivity, but it's also a lot of money for a game in this genre. So like the two before this falls into the category of, if you are on the fence, if you want this game, this may be your best option to get it. But also like the two before this, I am skeptical that you will see your money back if you find that this is a game that is not for you. So possibly your best option, also likely to not get your money back if you want to turn around and sell or trade this one down the road. From there, we move to City States, which I believe is the English name for this game, City State. So this is going to fall into another. It's a tough. Honestly, I could save you a lot of time here. There's very few amazing backs on the rest of this list either. Most of these all fall into the category of potentially interesting games. In fact, City States is a game that I am supremely interested in. I'm incredibly interested in City States. This is the designer of I can't remember his name. This is by Simone Suutisola, who is the designer of Kepler 3042, which was a well-rated game, and it is. The game looks entirely up my alley. This is one, check out Rado's rundown on it, run through whatever, his final thoughts. This is one in which you have, it's a short game, it's supposed to be in the 60-minute range, and it has powers and abilities and re-triggering actions, and it looks very much up my alley. You can slot cards to re-trigger further benefits, or you can hold them into your hand for endgame scoring. All in all, it's supposed to be coming in at a decent amount of time, decent amount of strategy, decent amount of choices, and lots of powers and abilities and escalating everything, which is very much my jam. I am very interested in City States, except for the price point. This game is on Tabletopia, so you can try it out there, and currently at 484 backers, even myself, I am uncertain because, like everything I said until now, it could well be that even though I'm holding off till retail, who knows? There's no guarantee of retail availability. As far as the pricing of this one, it's not terrible. To be very clear, it's not terrible at all. It's just not particularly amazing either. Coming in for the expansion, they're coming in at $42 to get you the expansion and the base game. That's going to give you the 5th player expansion. I don't know if you really need the 5th player expansion. I'm just going to use this as a basis point. That's $42 for what is roughly a $60 MSRP, which is roughly par for the course. A $60 MSRP, and once you go to the online store, you're looking at around $45 to $47. And once you factor in the $18 of shipping on this game, yes, $18 of shipping to the US, then you're straight up back to $60. So it's $60 on a $60 MSRP. This will be cheaper at retail. That's not even a question, not slightly, not remotely. If it shows up at retail, that is the part that is a question. So again, this is a common trend today. This is one that if you are definitely want the game, if you are sure you want it, if you do not want to take a chance of whether it shows up to retail and when, go ahead and back the game. But if it does show up at retail, it will be cheaper at retail. So that's the risk assessment you're going to have to take today. For myself, I am not backing it. I generally make the assumption that if it's coming from an established company and if it's well enough rated, it will show up at retail. That's my general assumption. And if it's not an amazing game, if it's a good game, then it may not be picked up. So I'm willing to roll the dice and rely on the gods, but ultimately it is up to you, to your choice. The game does look interesting. It looks very much like the kind of game I would enjoy. I'm just having self-control because I backed like 11 Kickstarters in November, and at some point I have to balance that out. Moving on from there to Momiji. And by the way, I'll save you some time as well. I'm not backing anything on this list today. Momiji is a poetic card game about autumn colors and stunning landscapes in ancient Japan. This is when we are going for a walk, trying to collect leaves. It has like a drafting variant for advanced players or whatnot, which is more my jam. Past that, it's just lots of light set collection going on in this game, trying to get what you need over here. This actually reminds me very much of Spirits of the Forest, I want to say. It reminds me of... Is that what it's called? It reminds me of Spirits of the Forest. I think it's Spirits of the Forest. Spirits of the Wild is a different game. So Spirits of the Forest was another game on Kickstarter that's going to be very similar, not just in gameplay. Gameplay is actually a little different, but rather in the fact that this is going to have two versions. It's going to have the basic version for $19 plus shipping, or the deluxe Kickstarter exclusive version for $31 plus shipping. This is one that is also available. No, it's not available on this is available on Tabletop Simulator and on Tabletopia, so it's available on both. And that deluxe version over there, if you're going to back it at all, back to the deluxe version. Otherwise, just wait for retail. If you want the deluxe version, it falls into that middle ground of I'm not sure how it plays out. Spirits of the Forest is one that surprisingly does hold its value for that deluxe version. Ultimately, like any deluxe version, it's going to depend on how well it was received. If people are willing to pay to get their hands on that deluxe version because, well, it's a good game. The art is beautiful. The gameplay looks light. Light can be a good thing. Light can be a bad thing. Again, I'm interested. I actually want to check this game out eventually. Just this, for me, falls in the category of the kind of game that I will check out after reviews come out and validate as being a good game, and I don't need the deluxe version in a game like this. If I get one, great. If I don't, I don't. But look at those animals. They're adorable. Makes you question everything I just said, doesn't it? From there we go to they have some more stuff down here. They had some they had some optional buys for gameplay as well. So they have the Falling Leaves module, the Meadow Leaf module, and the Morning Dew module. These are all gameplay related optional buys. So if you want more stuff that you can potentially do, it'll cost you like another, €12 altogether for all three of them. It's not the worst, but also like feels whatever. If you want it, go ahead and get it. More stuff for the game. From there, we move to The Boys. The Boys is one, let's save The Boys for last, okay? Because, gotta say something for last. So, we're gonna do Tall Tales instead. I usually do it in order of how far out the dates are, but 18 days versus 24 days, I'd rather save The Boys for last. The Tall Tales is a quick game of competitive story writing. This is one that as soon as you back this game, they're going to be delivering a digital version online. So, they're going to be both a physical product and a digital product for this game, specifically because of the age of COVID, and they want you to be able to play the game. This is a game that is intended to promote creative writing. There's going to be a bunch of mechanics in terms of how they write a short scene to submit for the tale the group is making together, draw on prompt cards, vote on which player's scene should be part of the tale, and then repeat for 3 rounds and score accordingly. It is a light game in the genre of any of these types of games that promote some sort of narrative story arc. This one does have more of a slightly educational spin to it, in the sense that it's not meant to be like Story War, where it's purely fun, or what's that other one? The other one, something Tales, Fairy Tales? Enchanted Tales, I can't remember the exact story. Once Upon a Time series or whatever it is. This is specifically coming from a teacher who has had teaching experience and has utilized this as a tool. It's going to have more of that educational push towards creative storytelling. It's coming in at $30 for the essential tales, $60 for the extra tales, and then from there they go to bundled options. That's extra tales is giving you some art prints and some things like that, and the basic option at $30 is giving you the physical and digital version of the game. This is unlikely to hold its value on the second-hand market because of the nature of the fact that these games typically have not. Any of these games that have sort of creative storytelling generally don't have a huge enough or passionate enough audience that these tend to do well on the second-hand market. So if you back this game, I again assume you're not getting your money back. As far as whether this is the best opportunity to get it yourself, with 198 backers, I mean, we do have 24 days to go, so who knows what could happen then, but it may well be your best chance to get it, but also not one that holds its value. Again, that is the theme of the day for today. And lastly, we go to The Boys. This is going to hurt the board game. This is one that is doing so many things differently. So, The Boys, first of all, this one does have a digital version. I can't remember if it's Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator, but it is available to play online. That is important. Do you want to know why that's important? It's important because they don't have a single content creator of any kind on this page for a miniature game around a TV series, around an IP. I actually have a video coming up with Jeremy Howard where we talk about things we look for in a Kickstarter. We just filmed it last week. I don't know exactly when it's going up, but effectively one of the things I said I look for is I look for content creators on the page, not because it's that important. Half the time I won't even, I actually watch them all because I do these videos, but more often than not, before I did these videos, I wouldn't watch as many of the videos as I used to. I'm saying this poorly. I didn't always watch all the videos, and there were times where I didn't watch any of the videos. But it is important to have those there because it shows you understand the landscape. It shows you understand the Kickstarter landscape in board games. When you don't have that there, I am now questioning what else are you doing differently. Now I'm thinking this is entirely an IP cash grab, and it's not based on it being an amazing, incredible game of any kind that's based on any sort of modern gaming principles. I am now wondering whether this is just straight up a board game implementation of The Boys, no different than you'll see at Target or Walmart, although Target and Walmart are carrying good games nowadays, so I guess I shouldn't be mean to them. In any case, the point is that offhand, the lack of any content creation on the game, the lack of any of the typical things I look for on a Kickstarter being on this page make me worried about the chops this game has. The flip side is it does have a Tabletop Simulator implementation, which means you can check that out and see if it's a game for you. Also, kudos to them for having it. As far as the game itself, it's going to be cooperative game which you're trying to run around the board collecting all the things you need to eventually take down Homelander or whatnot. Very much a cooperative game about taking down superheroes, taking down big bads, very much similar to the Reckoners in theme and implementation, very different in terms of mechanics and how the game actually plays out. Coming in at roughly $100 for the deluxe option of this game, I am not confident that this will hold its value at all. It's just there's too many red flags as to whether this is the right game for the type of ecosystem we are in to tell you whether that $100 is a lot for a game in this genre, and the only thing that holds up is miniatures. The rest of it looks okay at best. It does not look like a particularly amazingly designed game with amazingly deluxe-fied components. I wish them all the best. I mean, they have funded, I'm happy for that, but this is one that I am not backing, and if you think it's a good game, it might be a good game. Try it in Tabletop Simulator, I don't know, but I do not think the value will hold, and I think it's a risk for sure. And then lastly, from there we go to coming up. So coming up we have two things. One is the link I forgot to open, which is going to be, give me a second, I'll open it right now. There we go. Done. Okay, Vindication Chronicles. Vindication Chronicles is coming December 9th to Kickstarter. This is one that I am definitely excited for because I love Vindication and I get everything Vindication. So yeah, check this one out December 9th. I will almost certainly have a dedicated video for this one. Vindication has a passionate audience, including myself. I will be checking out this Kickstarter and covering that one. Past that, ISS Vanguard is going to be launching sometime soon. There is no official guaranteed launch date. I know when it's not launching, but it's not clear when it is launching. So we'll have to see and play that one out. Hopefully soon we will find out. Click here to notify me on launch. If you have a GameFound account, if you make sure, where's that link over here, the little thing, be a registered GameFound user before the campaign starts, and you'll get a free $5 US credit. This game is not going to be on Kickstarter. Do not look for it on Kickstarter. Subscribe to my channel so you can be updated when it goes live, or just become a GameFound user, because that will ultimately be how you can get your hands on this game. This game is going to be coming shortly. I just did a today or yesterday, whatever it is, I have a video, both a review and a how to play of GameFound. We will also have gameplay coming up on both myself and Cracklope's channel. Make sure to check out all those videos if you're interested in the game. The very short version, I'll tell you right now because the review is already up, is I like this game. I like it a lot. I'm excited to add it to my collection. I have played 8+ hours of it so far, and I am eager for what the final system is. Also, it might not be a game for you. It depends what you're looking for. Make sure to check out the review. There are definitely reasons not to back this game. I'm going all in on it. Not a question at all. And that is basically everything this week. That is all the new stuff, all the old stuff, or all the everything stuff. And until next time, I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one. Happy Hippo, Angry Duck. Hello, little person. How are you today? Is your mood quite terrific, or only okay? Are you happy as a hippo, or angry as a duck? Maybe sad as a chicken, who can sadly say, cluck cluck. Are you grumpy as a moose, or excited as a dog? Are you worried as a rabbit, contented as a frog? Perhaps like a pig you are sweetly amused, or perhaps like a cow you're completely confused. I'd be confused at this point, honestly. You might feel that somehow you've lost all your fizz, or you're frazzled like a frazzled thing, whatever that is. Well, I hope you are happy, but if you are not, you have friends who will help you. We like you a lot. And a difficult mood is not here to stay. Everyone's moods will change day to day. Except for that duck. He's always that way. That duck is always that way. That's it. Have a good one.